guys, I'm Janine, 19 years old, and this is the story of how God transformed me. Growing up, my thoughts were mostly centered on me and what I wanted to do because it gave me freedom and happiness. Having to come from a broken family, I thought at that time I never received the kind of love and care that helps me stay on the right path. I would say my family had different ways of expressing their faith in God, so I would say I never really had a personal relationship with God. During my younger teenage years at about 15 or 16, I started to pretend I was happy even though I really wasn't. I would say I was pretending because I didn't want to bother anyone. I didn't want to make them feel that they're obligated to help me and stuff like that. After about a year of being confused and hurt, I couldn't handle everything that I was feeling. It drove me to a point that even before I turned 16, I already had suicidal tendencies. And I had already tried to take my life 3 times. But in those attempts, there was this fear in me that kept me from actually doing it. I tried different outlets. I started to sneak out late at night, to drink, to party, to smoke. It was at July that year as well that my mom realized that I kept going home late. Normally, we would celebrate my birthday, but that year was different because she asked me to stay with my dad. I felt like I was being rejected twice, but this time it hurt even more because even though I knew it was my fault, I would still blame everything on them. When all this was happening, I realized underneath all the pain, the rebellion, and the confusion, I was just longing for a traditional complete family where I could be loved, cared, and accepted. Because I focused on myself, I failed to think of what they were going through, especially my mom, who might be tired of doing what would be best for me as a single parent, and I didn't realize that she was also hurting. It was all about me. Most of the time as teenagers, we fail to realize that parents fall short of time to show how much they care and love because they are limited, and maybe because when you are full of yourself, you cannot communicate that time is more important than anything else. At this point, I realized I needed God in my life, but I was still scared because I didn't know if He would still love and accept me due to the things I've done in the past. I felt like I was stuck in darkness and I didn't know where to go. I was stuck in for quite some time, waiting for something to push me to believe in Him again. Then, this one afternoon, my dad asked me if I wanted to attend the opening of a church called Saddleback Santa Rosa. I thought about it for quite some time because I wasn't sure if it will be for me. A day before the opening, all of a sudden, I told my dad I wanted to go. So I attended church. At first, I really found it weird because unlike some people I knew before, everyone here talked openly about God, and it's like everyone had God in their lives, and I wanted to feel the same. I really tried to push myself to believe in Him again, but ayaw talaga. The reason was, I had all these doubts in my head na, what if hindi niya pala ako love? What if hindi niya na ako tatanggapin? What if ayaw niya na sa akin? What if wala pala talaga akong worth? Despite that, I still kept going every Sunday because I knew I really needed Him in my life. Fast forward to this one event at church. Despite the busyness, I still went to that event, and I really wanted to feel His love and acceptance from Him, from God. So when the band was singing, I was just at the side. I suddenly had this feeling that something was hugging me. Someone was hugging me, but there wasn't anyone hugging me. I just started to cry my eyes out because that embrace, that hug, that was the hug I was longing for since I was a kid. All the emptiness was suddenly filled with God's love, and that's where I started my personal journey with Him. After that night of worship, I was so happy kasi alam niyo yung sinasabi ko kanina na I was stuck in darkness and I didn't know where I was and where I would go. But after that event, It's like I saw light at the end of the tunnel, and God helped me find my way back to the right path. Ever since I let God become a part of my life, I discovered His love for me, and I started to feel that I am worthy. As I walked towards Him, I walked away from the things that did not please Him. As it says in 2 Corinthians 5:17, whoever is a believer in Christ is a new creation. The old way of living has disappeared. A new way of living has come into existence. I stopped sneaking out late at night, drinking, partying, and smoking. I stopped choosing those wrong outlets, believing I had nowhere else to turn. Before, I felt like I didn't have a family that understood my depression. I feel like I lost all my friends, and all I had were friends who were there when they just needed something. I started to discover that I have someone to turn to, and that is God. I started to meet real friends from church who I know will be there for me through thick and thin, and they will keep me on the right path. I learned to accept my mom for who she is. I forgave my dad for all that he has done to us, and I accepted his new family. I learned to be positive and trust his plans for me. And this was the beginning of my personal journey with God. Since becoming a Christian, I have experienced many challenges. I thought everything was going to be fine because I already had God in my life. For some time, I was really doing great and I was truly happy. But there was this time around late August, after my 18th birthday celebration, my debut, I really was feeling my lowest. I wasn't telling people how I felt, and I kept it all to myself. Something triggered me, and on September 3, 2019, I had attempted suicide. I overdosed. I was messaging my friends goodbye and saying thank you, believing this was the end of me. My leaders, Ate Ave and Kuya Jorian, then went to my house as soon as possible. When they arrived, I was already feeling groggy. I couldn't even walk straight. So I was so weak that Kuya Jorian had to carry me to his car and bring me to the hospital's emergency room. There was a tube being put in my nose. They were pumping my stomach. I was having a hard time. I was even crying out to the nurse to take the tube out because it had hurt so bad. I remember some of my relatives went to the ER I was in. I couldn't remember exactly who they were because I felt so weak and groggy, but I want to say thank you for being there when my life was about to end. I was moved to the psychiatric ward of Makati Med, and I was there for 2 to 3 weeks. I'm not really sure if it took that long, but it seemed like forever. So yeah, after some recovery from that attempt, I was doing great again, and for quite some time I went back to my old habits. After months of my last attempt, I went back. I started to smoke again, I started to drink again, I started going home late again. And the reason was because I was hurting again. And instead of running to God, I started to do those old habits again. This had continued for months. At some point, I decided that this was no longer the life I want to live. As I was trying to go back to God, this whole lockdown happened. I was stuck at home, the last place I want to be in. I thought I wasn't even going to survive this lockdown, but it turned out to be the greatest thing that has happened in my life. I was able to be close again with my family. I got to spend more time with them. I got to bond with them, and I got to spend more time with God as I had more time to do my quiet time and stuff like that. Today, I am recommitting my life that is not meant to be lived alone. Today, I am recommitting my life that is not meant to be lived alone. I will always surround myself with friends who will help me get through this and overcome my battles which are meant to be won. I will celebrate my life daily because Jesus came to die so that I can live my life to the fullest. I can slowly say that I am regaining myself as a new Janine. I won't say that I'm fully healed, but I know I am on the path of getting back up on my own feet. Through the strength of God who sustains me, the road to recovery isn't easy. But little by little, I'm getting there with the help of Jesus and others that love and care for me. And lastly, I want to grab this opportunity to raise awareness on depression and anxiety. These are not jokes. We should take it seriously. If you know someone who has depression, my suggestion is to give them comfort and to always be there for them. Never get tired of helping them because they are trusting you. Give them encouragement that you believe in them. And for me, help them to be connected with God, because with Him, they would not feel any loneliness, because God will always be by our side, no matter what. And I say that again, God will always be there for us no matter what we do, no matter how much we turn our back against Him. He will always stay where we left Him, and He will always be waiting for us to come back to Him. So I want you guys to believe in Him and that there is hope. Your battles aren't meant to be fight alone. You have God with you. And that, guys, is the story of how God transformed me. And I would say thank you guys so much for listening to this story, and I hope you get inspired by this. So I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye!